Building it brick by brick.
Friedman believed that when the economy is highly distorted with these interruptions, the only way to reach that unspoiled state was to deliberately inflict painful shocks or bitter medicine. The State Department collaborated with the Ford Foundation, the Rockefeller Foundation, I know you've heard of them before, and Harry Truman's Point 4 program to sponsor students from Chile to study economics at the University of Chicago under Milton Friedman, the father of neoliberal economic policies. Once they completed the program, these Chilean students, these Chicago boys, were then dispatched back to the Southern Cone countries, where they achieved positions throughout those countries' governments. I encourage you to study more on the background of these pivotal elections and the role of our government in them. I cannot go into them in much detail tonight. I wish I could, but it's fascinating. Just know that Russia ain't got nothing on us in regard to interfering in other countries' elections. Allende's programs started to show immediate economic improvement. Inflation fell by a third in 1971 over the previous year, while wages rose on average by 22%. Minimum increases for blue-collar workers rose by 56%. Allende also intended to improve the socio-economic welfare of Chile's poorest citizens. A key element was to provide guaranteed employment either in the new nationalized enterprises or on public works projects. It's ringing a bell. Chileans had, until this point, experienced 160 years of democratic rule. But the events of the Chilean 9/11 gave Chile a taste of what we know today as shock and awe. With just 36 Allende staff and supporters inside the palace, 24 rockets were fired into the building. Allende took to the airwaves to address his beleaguered and terrified nation one last time.
Trabajadores de mi patria, tengo fe en Chile y su destino. Sigan ustedes sabiendo que mucho más temprano que tarde, de nuevo abrirán las grandes alamedas por donde pase el hombre libre para construir una sociedad mejor. ¡Viva Chile! ¡Viva el pueblo! ¡Vivan los trabajadores!
Thousands ended up in the two main football stadiums in Santiago, the Chile Stadium and the huge Nacional Stadium. Inside the Nacional Stadium, death replaced football as the public spectacle. Pinochet also introduced school vouchers. Does that send a chill down your spine? It should. The proposals and the final document mirrored the ideologies of Milton Friedman's ideas from Capitalism and Freedom. What are they? Privatization, deregulation, cuts to social spending, the free market trinity. And it was about to be implemented on an entire country for the first time in economic and political history. So by 1975, Pinochet got to work stripping away the welfare state to arrive at their pure capitalist utopia, because Friedman had told Pinochet that in order to achieve the economic realities that he believed the brick would deliver, he had to make deeper cuts to public services. Even The Economist, a free market cheerleader, called what was happening in Chile an orgy of self-mutilation. Disappearing people was a way to ensure that the survivors, those who remained, those who weren't physically tortured or sexually abused, remained uninvolved in affairs of the government. The psychological terror of knowing that you'll be disappeared if you speak out against what's being done was intended to keep people silent in the face of their oppression, even as their liberties, their ability to provide for themselves and their families, and their very security were all being taken away by the government. And if you think this history of the full implementation of neoliberal policies in a little country like Chile can't happen here, you are not paying attention. On October 10th, 1998, he was arrested in London 6 days later and held for a year and a half while Pinochet was under house arrest in London. One notable person publicly supported him, to the surprise of the majority of the British public, to the surprise and the disgust. However, as we'll be learning in our next episode, this unconditional support isn't really that surprising. Join me next week. I believe I will be airing on Wednesday night, our regular night, at our regular time at 9 p.m. for part 4 of our series on neoliberalism, the next generation, when Ronnie met Maggie.
Where would you like us to sit? We'll sit, please. Thank you. Thank you very much. The chance of Senator Pinochet receiving anything resembling what we in Britain would recognize as justice in a Spanish court is minimal, not least because key witnesses for his defense run the risk of immediate arrest if they set foot on Spanish soil.
Building a brick by brick.